Welcome to another episode. So in a lot of my videos, I often promise a follow-up or a long-term follow-up to whatever project I was working on. And while I have followed up with some of them, I thought I'd put together this kind of catch-all video to give a long-term review or update to many of these projects. Back in the fall of 2021, I built this boat shed, 32 feet long, 15 feet wide. And it's done very well. It's had over a foot of snow on it, has withstood multiple hurricanes. However, when I installed the plastic sheeting, I did not realize that it will contract as it gets colder. It was probably in the mid 50s when I installed it. And as it gets down below freezing, it tends to pull away. And over the years, you can see up there that it's pulled away from the edge. And it's done this on both sides. So what I'm planning to do is take the plastic off and then install a batten under there, or just some strip, and then relax it a little bit and put another batten on top so that it has a little bit more play in it for it to contract. And now here's that extra slat placed next to the frame, batten down from the outside right here, and there's a little bit more play. Done. And last year I installed this telescoping boat ladder. So it's done very well in terms of use. It does extend, I have a bungee on here, but it does extend well into the water. So getting in and out is no problem. But as far as holding it up here, I mean, it is very firm, but still it will fall over if you're sailing on your side, heeled over. I did put one of these on here. This is just a PVC clamp for PVC pipe attached to a wooden block, and that's cable tied to the push bit. I originally found one of these on the back of a washing machine to hold the hose, and then upgraded to this PVC one. So as far as holding it up there, I've been using just a piece of line here. But a better option will be to use the lower lifeline, just hook it around it. This little piece of line that I used to open it, I'm just going to make that longer. That way you can reach it from the water. Next, I had made some minor modifications to my tiller, starting with the wrap here, which has worked out very well. It's nylon, but you know, that doesn't do well in the sun, but it'll be fine for several years. This has worked very well to hold the tiller between my knees, particularly when I'm standing, you know, when I'm motoring along or whatever. The varnish, as expected, did not hold up well because this was not an exterior varnish. This is actually the interior varnish that I use as a top coat for the teak and bulkheads inside. And this is all I had at the time, so I'm going to be redoing this, and at some point I may even make a custom tiller, something a bit longer. I'd like this to be about 6 inches further forward. Other than that, the through bolts for the auto tiller have held. I had issues with that in the past, and these cleats for the monitor have worked pretty well. And also work to keep the tiller stationary when I'm anchored or docked, to keep from wearing out the pintles. This just keeps it from moving. And last year I used this new bottom paint, which I've never used, from West Marine. It seems to have done very well. A little bit of growth here on the following edge of the rudder, top gudgeon, following edge of the keel, and tiny bit there on the intake for the engine. But overall, just slime, which is to be expected. A little bit on the bottom of the keel because I did not paint that. But this paint was not real expensive, so I think it's a keeper. And now for the lightning protection system that I installed about 2 years ago or so. So here's where the wiring terminates in the bilge. Um, Not a lot of corrosion, a little bit over there. The original intention was to maybe put some lacquer or something on there, but haven't done that. And despite the harsh marine environment, it's been pretty good. Of course, all the wiring hasn't moved, so should be fine. Here's the lightning ground plate on the hull. You can see that there's quite a bit of growth on here, hard growth and otherwise. And there's really two schools of thought on these, painting these. Some say if you use copper bottom paint, it shouldn't be an issue to paint it. Others say don't paint it at all. In my case, I err on the side of caution and will not paint it. And the plan is to just scrape and clean it every few months when I start to cruise. Then there's the Garboard plug modification that I did a few years ago. I did end up taking out that piece in there to block the ingress of water had the plug fallen out. What I'm currently doing is just making sure that that plug is in there tight, maybe even using a little bit of Loctite if necessary. But you can see when I washed the bottom, kind of flaked off a lot of the bottom paint around where the hole was closed there. But that's just because I didn't prepare the surface well, not because of any fiberglass work. On the same token, there was an issue with the shoe here, the rudder shoe. This keeps from getting lines caught in here when you're sailing. This had gotten bent and cracked at the bottom when some idiot at a marina left me hanging in the slings for over a weekend with the strap under here. I reinforced that, but I noticed here a little bit of glass starting to peel up. So that's my fault. I need to do a little better job there. Not that that would cause any leaks or anything, but over time, I don't think that would be beneficial. And now for that inexpensive diesel heater that I installed a little over 2 years ago. So this has provided me with much needed heat during the winter while I've been on the hard. And it's finally failed, which is not surprising. However, when I installed this, I did put a little bit extra into the mounting and the upgraded exhaust. And I did it in such a way so that when this did fail, I could just get another one and just drop it right in. So that being the case, they're actually even more inexpensive now. I found another one for $49. This is the old one, which I unbolted from up there. And that will just be used for parts from now on. And now for the sail pack that I made. So a few years ago, I made a traditional sail cover for the mainsail and had the idea to convert it into a sail pack with lazy jacks, which connect to these three straps here. The batten or a PVC pipe goes into that sleeve. And then there's a zipper that runs along the top, as well as some slides that go in the boom slot. So this has worked as well as it should have. I dropped the sail in there with no problem. It catches all of the reefing lines for the most part, which was kind of the point because they were whipping around. And it looks great. It's not too large. It doesn't provide a lot of windage. Still retains that traditional look with the collar up top. But just a few notes. Did have a little bit of chafe here. There was a grommet here and there was a grommet here. This is to pin the tack on the boom. The rest of this kind of goes around the mast. And this did chafe. I'm going to have to repair this. And also there was a little bit of chafe on this first slide. One other note is that these straps and buckles that I installed to roll up the cover and have them be held by those, I found those to be unnecessary. I could just use a bungee cord with some hooks on it. In fact, that's probably even easier than using these buckles. Next was this repair of the hatch leak that I had here. Um, and I had determined that the leak was coming from these joints at the corner of the teak base here. I had just simply epoxied them together and no more leaks. Um, Not much more to say other than that, other than I'm very happy to be free of that leak since that thing leaked since I bought the boat. Okay, so several years ago I made these little fiberglass covers for my chain plates. There's three on either sides for the shrouds. And I've never had a leak since I installed those. I just packed butyl tape into the hull, then used screws to attach that cover. And the covers are no worse for wear. This one actually has some cracks in it from the screws, but I've had no leaks in the, what's it been, 3 or 4 years since I did these. I am thinking of taking the covers off and just using 4200 on the top, but possibly not. I might actually just remake the covers, maybe use some polished stainless steel or something, because this sure does work well. And finally, the three-piece sculling oar that I made. And this has worked well, as expected. I mean, you can't really scull this boat more than one knot, if that. And I love this thing because it stores so well in the bilge as opposed to tying a full-length one onto the lifelines. And I just use it on the oar lock there that I installed. But one thing I'll say is that the brass sleeves that I installed, these came off of 6-foot oars, and they're probably better suited to that length because I do get a bit more movement than I'm comfortable with in the joints there. I mean, the oar itself does flex because of the thickness, but it's these joints that I think I want to address. So I'm probably going to remove those brass sleeves and get a longer length stainless pipe that'll go over a longer length and make that a bit more stable at the joint. But otherwise, I think this is a very worthwhile project.